Climate change by car sharing to work.
Also, we're doing it to keep costs down.
Half the fuel means half the cash.
A dynamic duo if ever I saw one.
Can you see a parking space?
Together, they're helping to drive down Scotland's transport emissions.
Plus, Sophie's got great chat.
Sure. Do it for yourself and our planet. Search Let's Do Net Zero to learn more.
Established in 2006 as one of Glasgow's original mobile massage therapists, we deliver high-quality treatments with the ambition to forge permanent relations with clientele. We specialise in on-site massage, a type of treatment that has been specifically designed to complement the convenience and availability of massage at work. It is performed with the use of a specialist mobile chair, without the use of oils or the need to remove clothing. At Massage & Glow, we believe that massage should be a part of your everyday lifestyle. Regular massage not only relieves stress and tension, but also stimulates blood circulation, can help with pain management, and promotes good mental health. A must for your busy schedule. Various holistic therapies available. Contact us now on 07530 905 152 for your mobile massage therapist.
You are listening to Jambo Radio Scotland, online, on your smart speakers and on DAB Digital Radio in Edinburgh and Glasgow. You can download the Jambo Radio app now on Google Play and the App Store. Now it is time for the Science Show with Dr. Dada.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Science Show with Dr. Dada on Jambo Radio Scotland, broadcasting from the city of Glasgow. It is really a pleasure to be here with you tonight, wherever you may be, whatever you might be doing. It's nice to really dive into the world of science together this evening. And to start our show, we're going to listen to our well-loved jingle, the High Life jingle, themed The Science Show. And then what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the development in AI when it comes to creating music, generation of music. We all know about ChatGPT. We know about a lot of platforms where they use AI to generate images. Now, the generation of music with AI has got to very, very interesting levels. And just to highlight that, we're going to play the High Life jingle for this show. And then after that, we're going to play the AI generated version of it. And let's listen to the original first.
This is the Science Show with Dr. Dada. He's just so nice, you cannot do without. This is the Science Show with Dr. Dada. He's just so nice, you cannot do without.
Great. So what we did was we took that original track and put it into an AI tool and just said extend, or basically it makes a remix of the song. And here's what it came up with without anything else, just putting that as input. Let's listen to what it did.
This is the Science Show. This is the Science Show. Dr. Dada. This is the Science Show. You cannot do without. We learn so many things. But the new happening in the world of science. This is the Science Show. You cannot do without. You cannot do without. You cannot do without. We learn so many things of the new happenings in the world of science.
That's interesting, isn't it? That's so uncanny, I'd say, to see how AI just takes a musical idea, listens to the words, and comes up with something like that. With all the voices, the chorus, very, very African sounding voices as well. It's just amazing. I was really blown away when I saw this. And it's not just one platform. There's many platforms now that are able to do that. It's not research grade either. It's commercially available. You could go out on the internet and actually do something like this for yourself. So it's just interesting to see those developments. And to take it a notch further, in fact, if you just hum music into your phone or into a microphone, you can get it to give you a completely finished track. And I've got another example of that. So basically what I did was, I picked up the mic and I said something like, Aurora is my baby. She's very, very, very nice. Something like, something just off the cuff, right? And I put that into an AI tool and it came up with a fully finished Afrobeat track, which sounded great, Of course, if you're into music production, you'll know that something is maybe a little bit incomplete about it, the way the vocals sound and things like that. But it's amazing. Just thinking that all you had to do was give that input to it and a prompt, and it comes up with a basically fully finished Afrobeat, banging track. And so let's listen. So we'll listen to the raw recording, which is very rough. And, I did it while walking, I think. And then we'll listen to the AI version of it, or the AI extension of it. So let's get it. So it's the Aurora raw recording. All right, while we wait for that, it's just let's think a little bit more about that, the implications of AI, and the science behind it, the fact that when tools like this become available, sometimes it's a solution that has no problem yet, and then it's just interesting to see how the different applications will come up. I was listening to someone online who said AI should be enabling the ability to automate our everyday tasks, like washing our dishes, doing our laundry and things like that, and allowing us to do creative things like writing songs, making paintings, and so on. But now it seems to be the other way around. We're getting much more quickly to AI taking over, almost kind of taking over, content creation, video creation, music creation. But things, everyday tasks that are hard really to do, we're still having to do them manually. So that's quite interesting to ponder. So do we have that ready now? Okay. All right. Maybe we'll move on. Maybe by the end of the show we'll get to listen to. All right. So what we'll do now is we'll look into our first science news highlight for today. It's a very interesting one, and I just thought it's really mind-blowing. So the question is, have you ever wondered what happens in your brain when you go under? For example, when you have some anesthetic and you're no longer conscious, where does your consciousness actually go? What happens there? Well, scientists have made a discovery, and we're going to talk about that discovery. And it is about the tiny microtubules inside your cells. And the discovery is that they found that these microtubules might be playing a much bigger role in the consciousness that we experience than we ever thought. So just let that sink in. So the microtubules inside your cells. Now, this highlight is going to get a little bit weird because we're going to go a little bit into the quantum realm. We're going to talk about quantum. So that's going to be fun. But anyway, we're always thinking about consciousness as a big mystery, aren't we? But what this research does is it zooms in on these incredibly tiny structures, these microtubules, and it points to them as a potential key to understanding this elusive concept of consciousness. So if we back up for a second, for those of us who haven't cracked open a cell biology textbook in a while, let's remind ourselves what microtubules actually mean. So microtubules are like a part of the cytoskeleton. If you think of your cells, for example, as a busy city, right? So these microtubules are like the framework that gives the cells their shape, and it also acts as the transportation system. So that's what they do. And they're like, also you could think of them as being like a scaffolding and the roadways for our cellular cities, so to speak. So they're everywhere, in every kind of cell. They be it the cells in the eyes, cells in the muscles, everywhere, they're there. But when it comes to the nerve cells, the neurons, these microtubules are super abundant. So they are so abundant in these kinds of cells. And they have the critical role of helping to transmit information in the brain. So they're not just holding, serving as structures that hold the cells together, but they're potentially involved in things like our brain's ability to send signals and, of course, thinking. And of course, you would think that would involve consciousness. But that wasn't obvious until recently. So this is where the study gets on. And what they did is that they used rats as lab rats, so to speak, of course. And what they wanted to do was to understand how anesthesia, specifically an anesthetic called isoflurane, how does it affect these microtubules? So how do you study consciousness in a rat, right? You don't get to ask the rat how they're feeling, do you? But it turns out that there's a way to do that. And what researchers do is to use this very clever, what we could call a proxy, and it's called the loss of writing reflex, or LOR. So writing just means, the phenomenon whereby if you're conscious, if your position is changed into another arbitrary position, there is this reflex that moves you to change it back into the right position. So it's called the writing reflex, right? So what they do with rats is to study the consciousness in rats. They basically just, turn them upside down. So they flip them over. And if the rat is unconscious, it just stays that way, right? But if it's conscious, then what it does is, because of this writing reflex, it basically turns itself back into the right sort of position, right rest position. And, this is not a very, very far away concept to us as well. If you were sleeping and somebody moved you, or you moved into an uncomfortable position, if you're completely unconscious, you might stay in that position, right? But the moment you're conscious, the reflex is, or the tendency is that you would rotate or move back into the right sort of posture, as it were. So when a rat is anesthetized, what happens is it loses that instinct. It just stays, upside down, or however it's put. So this is the LOR, so the loss of writing reflex. So what happens then is that this writing reflex is a reliable indicator of consciousness in this kind of research. So what they did is they gave these rats anesthetics, they put them in anesthesia. And so this is where the microtubules came in, because what they did was also to give the rats some isoflurane, so the anesthetic, and they gave some others a medicine that stabilizes the microtubules. And what happened was that the rats who got the microtubule stabilizing drug, it took them significantly longer to lose their writing reflex. So when the microtubules are stabilized, the rats tended to stay conscious for much longer. Basically, that's the bottom line here. So it's very interesting, actually, when you think about it. It just means that by specifically targeting that structure in cells, you're able to change how long the rats stayed conscious. And that's very, very big. That's huge. And this is because it suggests that these structures, these microtubules, they're not just passive bystanders in the brain or in the cells. they might actually play a crucial role in how anesthesia works and in how consciousness functions at a fundamental level. So this really blows one's mind, doesn't it? Because, consciousness is something that we're always curious about. It's kind of elusive, scientists ask a lot of questions about consciousness. We don't really know how consciousness, manifests at the fundamental level, what it means. And this might just be a window to, starting to understand some of that. So the question is, when someone is not under anesthesia, what do microtubules do, right? So perhaps you could wonder if they could be involved in the very essence of conscious existence or conscious experiences. But, that's a giant leap. We don't know about what the answer to that question is yet. But, just the fact that it talks about, this research really talks about the influence that these microtubules may have on consciousness is already complicated, is already quite exciting. And it gets even more exciting because actually some scientists have thought about, this idea of microtubules being involved in consciousness a long time ago. So this goes beyond the realm of classical biology. And so when we say classical biology, we're talking about biology, the ordinary biology without involving anything quantum, right? The counterpart that has is quantum biology. So in this case, we're involving quantum physics in the biological systems. So quantum physics and consciousness, that's another big topic that we won't go into much detail today. But you see, when we talk about quantum, of course, there are some fundamental concepts in quantum, right, that make things, quantum things quantum. One of them is what we call superposition. And superposition just says that, you have something that is in two states, and these two possible states can coexist at the same time in a superposition. And of course, we also have entanglement. So these are concepts that are common in quantum physics. So basically what we're saying here is that potentially things like superposition and entanglement exist in our brain, and they might play a role in, the brain, in consciousness and the way it manifests itself. So of course, quantum physics is something that, for most people, including myself, it can make your head spin a little when you think about some of the concepts. But we could maybe illustrate it using a video game character. So imagine a video game character which has different actions. So perhaps it could run, it can jump, and it can maybe dodge at the same time. Think of a popular video game. And so when you talk about superposition, you could think of that video game character basically doing those three things at the same time, or maybe two of it at the same time. So just imagine that if you can. And so that's kind of how superposition works. So particles existing in multiple states at the same time until something kind of forces them to choose one. So it's like they're undecided what state they're in, right? And that's what superposition is like. So think about that. Instead of that kind of video character, imagine tiny particles in our brains being in these kinds of states at the same time, being in maybe two or multiple, maybe so many millions of states at the same time. That's the kind of thing we're talking about here. So these scientists are suggesting that it's possible that these kinds of effects are used or utilized by the brain to do what it does. For example, to keep us conscious, And it's just really, really fascinating, these kinds of research, isn't it? So yeah, we could go more and more into that topic. But if you want to learn more about that research, the source is in a scientific article called Microtubule Stabilizer Epithelone B Delays Anesthetic Induced Unconsciousness in Rats. So that's published in the peer-reviewed journal eNeuro, and that was just in August 2024. So this is very fresh research. And there's so many coverages of that in various on various websites, so you can find that easily. Just Google something like microtubule unconsciousness in rats, and you'll get it. You'll get all the information. So that's fantastic, isn't it? It's a very interesting topic. So perhaps now we'll take a music break, and we're going to listen to a song entitled Kule. I think this song is really nice for this time of the day, because it just speaks to that time of the day when you're back from work and you're just in your house or in your room, just chilling out and relaxing. And the title is Kule, kind of carrying, expressing that idea. And after this song, we'll be right back and look at our next highlight. So let's listen to Kule.
Yeah. It is Dana musica. Baby Dana mundele. It is Dana musica. Dana mundele. I go make you feel alright, yeah. I go make you feel okay, yeah. After a long day, yeah, they feel alright. I go make you feel okay, yeah. Na, lady, my body in the cool, my body in the cool. My body is a groove, my body is a woman, yeah. Oh, ain't nobody gonna talk to me. I take some time for myself, oh yeah. I'm just trying to escape until I know that day. So call me tomorrow, cause if you call me now, we no go. No time for no fo, it's time for Olingo. Because my body is the cool, my body is the cool, my body is a groove, my body is a groove, my body is a move, my body is a move. I'm vibing to the music. So stay happy in the morning, oh, whether you dey live in the city, oh, whether you walking on the TT, oh, just keep it grooving, cause the world keep turning. I know you hear the music playing, oh, say, I got to keep on dancing, oh, na, daily. My body is the cool, my body is the cool, my body is a groove, my body is a groove, yeah. My body is a moving, my body is a moving. I'm vibing to the music, oh.
Yeah, that was Kule by Tana Musica. And this is the Science Show with Dr. Dada on Jambo Radio Scotland, broadcasting from the city of Glasgow. And we'd just like to take this moment to say thank you to our supporters, our sponsors. In the past, we've had IOP Scotland supporting this show. We'd like to say thank you to the University of Glasgow for the support they've given to the show through the Impact Acceleration account. And we'd like to also thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. And we'd like to also remind you that we broadcast live on DAB. We also broadcast live on YouTube, so you can listen to us and, in fact, watch us live if you're on YouTube. So that's fantastic. And for past episodes, you can find them also on our YouTube channel. So we've got the Jambo Radio Scotland YouTube channel. We also have a dedicated YouTube channel for this show, and on all platforms you can find that. The name is T Science Show. So at T Science Show on all platforms, you can get all the updates and all the cool stuff, behind the scenes stuff on this show. So for our next science news highlight, this is pretty mind-bending stuff. In fact, today it's very mind-bending because we started with the first one. We started from biology, microtubules in your cells, in the brain, and how, quantum effects might be involved in how they function. And now we're going to go really deep into quantum stuff. And a bit like the song that we just listened to, Cool Air, we're going to look at the physics of the very cold, right? And this is about the fact that physics have now unlocked a new protocol for energy teleportation and storage using quantum computers. I know that is a mouthful. Yes, indeed, it is. So many terms there, like energy teleportation. Perhaps teleportation makes you think about things like Star Trek. But it's a little bit different, in the case of energy teleportation, as we'll see. And then it also mentions quantum computers. Basically, quantum computers are computers that use quantum mechanical effects to do computation. And remember, we talked about superpositions. Yes, the fact that you can be in, a million states at the same time. Well, this is what quantum computers use to achieve what's called quantum parallelism. So basically, the quantum computer, instead of solving one problem at a time and solving the next one and the next one, well, what it does is it says, okay, I'll just solve all of them at the same time in parallel. Using this idea of quantum superpositions. So the superposition of all the inputs at the same time, and it does this computing, and you can cleverly tease out more than you could ever have with a normal ordinary computer, or what we like to call a classical computer. So what have these scientists done then? Well, this cutting edge science involves the teleportation of energy. And how does that work? Well, it's not just moving energy from one point to the other, like you transport energy. That's something that is not so surprising, right? But what they do is like, energy from one point, kind of, you do some operation on it using quantum mechanical effects, and that energy disappears here and appears somewhere else. Just like, it's a bit similar to what happens with teleportation in Star Trek, when someone teleports from aboard a starship to the surface of a planet, So it's something a little bit like that, but, a little bit different. But when you hear things like this, it almost sounds like you're breaking some fundamental law of physics, right? Because, we all know that energy cannot be created from nothing and all that. So it feels that way, but we're really not doing that. It's really drawing on the, properties of quantum mechanics in general. And with quantum mechanics, if you don't fully understand the mechanism, it can feel like magic. It can feel like you're doing something, impossible, as it were. But the moment you understand how it works, you'll see that actually that's not exactly the case. It's still within the laws of physics. So what they've done here is they've tapped into a source that we just haven't been able to access before. So it's called a quasi-vacuum state, right? So a quasi-vacuum state is a bit like the vacuum state. So vacuum it just basically means nothing, right? In physics, whenever you have nothing, there's no light, no matter, no particles, no air, nothing, absolute nothing. It's called vacuum. But it turns out that, when we think of vacuum or nothing, we think of something completely empty, right? Devoid of any energy or particles or anything like that. But it turns out that quantum mechanics tells us that even in a true vacuum, there's always some energy. There's always some fluctuation of energy. So at any given moment in time, you have these particles of energy, or these packets of energy, or photons that spontaneously appear and disappear, So there's this fluctuation of energy that is always there. And if you're clever, as they did in this research, you can harvest that energy. Now, this energy, this level of energy in nothing, or in an empty space or vacuum, is called 0 point energy. Okay, so this this baseline of energy of the universe is something that's always there, which is amazing. It's quantum mechanics tells us this, and it's been demonstrated as well in experiments. So this always fluctuating energy and the quasi-vacuum, they're similar, but they're not completely the same, because the quasi-vacuum actually exhibits something that's known as strong local passivity. So strong local passivity. What does that mean? Well, it means that unlike the, this version of the vacuum, this quasi vacuum, is such that you cannot extract energy from it. Normally, you can't normally do it unless you use this new method that the researchers have discovered. So with conventional methods, you're not able to do that locally, as it were. So locally means without using entanglement or these sort of spooky action at the distance, as it were. So this is where it gets a little bit wild, right? Because now we're talking about quantum energy teleportation, or QET. So QET. And the best way to understand it is with a sort of thought experiment. So if you have two people, two parties, or say two friends, right? One is Alice and the other is Bob. In quantum physics, we like to use these two names for some reason. So A and B, Alice and Bob. So now what happens is Alice and Bob have what we call entangled photons, or they share what we call entanglement. So basically, entanglement is something like quantum superposition, but it involves more than one particle. So in the case of quantum superposition, you can have one particle in different states at the same time. In the case of entanglement, you have two of them, in different states at the same time, but in such a way that they are completely correlated in the decision that they make eventually of which state they're in. You remember with superposition, you have a system that's in multiple states at the same time and it hasn't decided where it is going to be, it's going to pop out from. So with entanglement, you have both of them doing exactly the same dance. And when you force one to decide what state it's in, the second one then, is in exactly the same state or in a perfectly correlated state. So now imagine, let's get back to Alice and Bob. So they have a qubit, so the quantum version of a bit. And when they have this quantum version of a bit, they're able to use that, the correlation between the two bits, to send information or to teleport information. And this is kind of what they used in this experiment. And by being able to use this quantum entanglement, using a third bit or quantum bit, they were able to actually extract energy from that quasi vacuum, which normally it's impossible to extract energy from it using conventional methods. So basically that's the sort of gist of what these scientists did. And what's really fascinating about this as well is that this is not just some theoretical method or theoretical concept. It's something that they actually tested on one of IBM's quantum computers. So that's really interesting because this is really out of theoretical concepts, but now is something that's been demonstrated in the lab. So it's really, really fascinating stuff, really mind-bending stuff, and it actually works. We're able to teleport energy and store the energy, not just teleport it, store it. So this is super impressive stuff. And of course, you can read more about this research online as well. It's something that just shows you how amazing and exciting it is that you can have some theoretical concept, and now we're having these experiments on IBM's quantum computers that really bring it into the real world, so to speak. So this is actually happening. It's not just science fiction anymore. So it's pretty amazing, isn't it? So as we enter into this new era of quantum, you can expect a lot more wild discoveries like this one. So we'll see what happens next. And yeah, thank you for joining us in this analysis of this research. And now we've come to our second music break. We're going to listen to another song by Tana Musica. It's entitled Kilele. And when we come back, we're going to talk about another exciting discovery that involves all of us. It involves a mini moon. But until then, let's listen to Kilele. We'll be right back.
Tana musica, yeah. Come it down with this something. Baby, talk to me. Help me check this thing. I need you desperately. I want you endlessly. Your eyes keep calling me. I feel you constantly. See how you blew me away. I feel in my soul and my heart on a daily. Crickety, cricketa, which kind of bonga feeling be this shit? Kilele, 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 kilele. What is this? Kilele, 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 kilele. Which kind of bonga feeling be this shit? You are the winner, yeah. And this is getting stronger, eh. So hold me closer, let's make it over. Love you forever, no matter the weather. See how you blew me away. I feel in my heart and my soul on a daily. Rickety, cricketa, which kind of bonga feelings be this shit? Kilele, 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 kilele. What is this? Kilele, 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 kilele. Which kind of bonga feeling? Remix. Me happy, feel better, feel yakata. Spot tag better, me happy, full ground scatter. Me I go, happy Joe, a new dancer. Come me say, come me down with this something, eh. And there's something in the sweet me, eh. And it is feeling like a movie, eh. And I never been so groovy, eh. Groovy, groovy. Kilele, 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 kilele. What is this? Kilele, 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 kilele. What is this?
Well, welcome back to the Science Show with Dr. Dada on Jambo Radio Scotland, broadcasting from the city of Glasgow. Yes, that song was by Tana Musica and it's entitled Kilele, which in Yoruba means what is this? And that's kind of what I ask myself sometimes when I think about some of the discoveries in science, in quantum physics and other fields as well. It's like, wow, what is this? This is amazing. This is exciting. And that's what we can say as well about the next highlight. And in fact, this is what we'll call a cosmic curveball, because now we're going away from the quantum world, the world of the very small, the world of single atoms and photons, to cosmic scale, physics in the cosmic scale. And it's really precisely the world of mini moons. So you might be wondering, what do you mean by mini moon, right? We have one moon on Earth, don't we? But it turns out that we have mini moons. We have a temporary natural satellite sometimes that gets pulled into Earth's orbit for some time. And we're getting a new one this month as well, which is exciting, isn't it? We had no idea. I had no idea that Earth had mini moons, and most people don't. But it turns out that, yes, Earth has a mini moon. We have a surprise sibling, so to speak. And it's not just from a random occurrence. It doesn't just pop out from nowhere and appears. And again, another surprising aspect of it is that it's much more common than one might think, But let's look at the question of what a mini moon actually is. Now, imagine an asteroid, right? An asteroid just minding its business, cruising through space, just going its way. And suddenly, bam, it gets into the gravitational field of the Earth, the gravitational pull of the Earth, and suddenly gets snagged by Earth's gravity, and it gets into an orbit around the Earth. Now, sometimes this orbit lasts only for a short while. The asteroid becomes so to speak, our temporary tiny moon. So you know how our moon revolves and it does its trip around the Earth. And in a similar way, you have these small asteroids that get caught in an orbit around the Earth, and it does a few rounds around the Earth, and after some time, the Earth says, "Well, that's enough now," and boots it back out into space. So that's how it works. And this time, our temporary cosmic roommate, as it were, is given a name, and the name is 2024 PT5. So remember that 2024 PT5, and you can check that out online. You'll see and learn all about it. So this is our new mini moon, and they just discovered this mini moon in August, just this past August, and it was discovered by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, or ATLAS. Now, ATLAS is based in South Africa, and this is a catchy name, isn't it? ATLAS, again, Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System. Sounds like something important, doesn't it? But anyway, so the paper is published in AAS, and it's entitled "A 2-Month Mini Moon." So we're going to be having this mini moon for 2 months, apparently. 2024 PT5, captured by Earth from September to November, right? So September to November, we're going to be enjoying a new mini moon, a new moon, or another moon, as it were. So the question you might ask is, what makes this mini moon so special, right? Do they happen all the time? Is it very rare? Of course, for a lot of people, you would think it's really rare. Like, this is huge news, right? It's not something you hear of every day or even every year. But it turns out that it happens a lot of the time, It's something that happens many, many times in the past. It's just that, even up to millions of times over the lifetime of the Earth. Of course, that's a very long time. But, we've had so many mini moons, and no one even knew about it, just because only recently did we develop the technology to detect them, right? So this is quite interesting. And perhaps some enthusiasts might think, how do I get to see this mini moon, right? Can I just bring out my telescope, the old telescope, and point it to the sky and perhaps be able to see it? Well, it turns out, don't get too excited about that, because it's a little bit more difficult to see than that. It's way too faint to see, even with a telescope, with an old telescope. You need some, specific and specialized scientific equipment to see this mini moon, 2024 PT5. So it's fantastic, isn't it? So, it's out there, going around the Earth as we speak. So we have a mini moon right now, and it will be hanging around until November. It reminds me of the song, "I'll be gone till November," or something like that. But anyway, so we know this mini moon came from out there somewhere in the vast expanse of space. But do we know where it came from? Do we know where it really originated? Well, astronomers think it probably came from a place called the Arjuna asteroid belt. Right? We know about asteroid belts. So it probably escaped from that asteroid belt and made its way close to Earth and got caught into an orbit around the Earth. Now, that's a new one, this Arjuna belt, isn't it? You could ask, well, is it different from the regular asteroid belt that everyone is always talking about? It turns out that this Arjuna belt is a bit more exclusive. It hangs out much closer to our planet, to Earth, and it's quite closer than the moon, but not too close. Cosmically speaking, it's not too close. So it's really, really exciting. And if you get the chance, of course, you'll see online a lot of pictures of this mini moon, 2024 PT5. I wonder if, a much more friendly name would be nice for it. But yeah, that's what it's called, 2024 PT5. And perhaps one question you could also ask is, would it be possible, for something like this mini moon, like 2024 PT5, could it decide, for example, to stay permanently and become a more permanent fixture? Well, yeah, let's not count on it. That's the simple answer to that question, because it's really, really rare for that to happen. It's very, very rare. The probability for that to happen is very, very low. So many things will need to fall in place in just the right time, right order for that to happen. So yeah, you can pretty much assume that that's not going to happen. So there's a lot more you can learn about this mini moon and everything to do with it. And as we said, this research was published in the research notes of the AAS, and you can learn about this. Again, the title of the paper is A 2-Month Mini Moon 2024 PT5 captured by Earth from September to November. So again, this is fresh and it's on right now. So the American Astronomical Society, AAS, published that. So fantastic. Let's take one last music break on our show, and then we'll come back and sort of crack one or two science jokes, and we'll talk a little bit more about AI and its influence in music. So we'll listen to a track by Wonder Banton, as one of my favorites from Wonder Banton is entitled No Wahala. We'll be right back.
Problem in all the finish. Make you try to enjoy. Wahala in all the finish. Make you try to enjoy. Say kata kata uru uru not the finish. Make you try to enjoy. Problem in all the finish. So make you try to enjoy. Make you dance like Luala. Yeah, Luala. Make you dance like Luala. Yeah, Luala. Dance like Luala. Yeah, Luala. Dance like Luala. Yeah, Luala. You see this life, I cannot kill myself. I just want to live my life, live I'm judging. I don't like bad, I don't go find your trouble. I don't like kasala, so far my money the double. As my money to buy logo, it make me happy, happy. As my money to buy logo, it sweet my body. Problem in all the finish. We can try to enjoy. Wahala in all the finish. We can try to enjoy. Say kata kata uru uru not the finish. We can try to enjoy. Problem in all the finish. So we can try to enjoy. Make we dance like Luala. Yeah, Luala. Make we dance like Luala. Yeah, Luala. Make we dance like Luala. Yeah, Luala. Dance like Luala. Yeah, Luala.
Well, that was Wonder Banton, No Wahala. Very nice, very bouncy track. And it kind of reminds me of, what happens in science. It says, problem no they finish. In science, problem no they finish. It couldn't be more true. In science, there's always something to learn. And it kind of reminds me of what the Bible says as well, that humans will never learn the creation. We'll never learn creation, and we'll never learn that to its end. We'll never get the full knowledge of what's out there in the universe. And it's quite interesting, isn't it, to think about. And that's why science is possible. That's why science exists, because so many things need to be figured out still. So problem no the finish in science. That's true, isn't it? So what we're going to do now is we're going to wrap up with a couple of science jokes. So I have 3 jokes here, a little bit related to what we've talked about on today's show. So the first one is a question. I'll ask the question and pause a little bit. I'll let you mentally try to figure out what the answer is. It's a little bit specialist because of, if you've not listened to the first part of the Science News highlights, you probably might find it difficult. But it says, what's a microtuble's favorite type of music? What's a microtuble's favorite type of music? Well, you remember that we said microtubules are basically structures in our cells, and they're abundant in neurons in the nerve cells, and they help with the transfer of information around the cells. So the communication that happens between neurons and in the body, between the brain and other parts of the body, they play a huge role in it, and they might play a role in consciousness. So what's its favorite type of music? Well, it's called it's called orchestrated objective reduction. So that's a little bit of a specialist one, but this is a theory that actually was proposed by Roger Penrose and another scientist, basically talking about the role of, proposing that these microtubules and quantum physics has a role probably in consciousness and how consciousness works. So good, that's good. Now, another one. Why don't mini moons throw parties? So this is kind of a simpler one, but it's dry all the same, just as all science jokes are. Why don't mini moons throw parties? So the answer lies in the fact that they're small. That's a clue. They're small, and the answer is, well, because they don't have enough gravity to pull everyone in, right? So that's why they don't throw parties. So yeah, that one is a little bit more relatable, isn't it? Yeah, thank you very much. So now what we're going to do is, remember in the beginning we looked at the jingle for the show. So this is the Science Show with Dr. Dada, So we took that, put it into an AI tool, and asked it to extend it, to make a remix of it. And we heard what the remix sounded like, and it was quite uncanny, It sounded like a really nice, high life song from the 60s with, voices, choruses, and it was really nice. So what about if you have a song that's not finished? What if you just had an idea in your head and you kind of hummed it and, recorded that? What would you get? So we put the AI to the test in this case as well. So this song is not really a song, actually. It's just a very, very, very rough song idea, a very rough recording. And so what we'll do is we'll listen to the recording first and see what we think. And then we'll play the AI remix of that. So could we get that played?
Aurora is my baby. She's very, very, very sweet.
Yeah.
I love Aurora because she is so wonderful.
Okay, so something like this, Aurora, right, goes into the AI. Nice. And now we're going to listen to what the AI came up with, just with one line, one sentence of a prompt. And let's listen to the AI remix now. Wow.
This is Aurora. It's not baby.
It's funny. It's a bit funny, isn't it?
It's my baby. She is very, very, very sweet. I love Aurora because she's so wonderful. I love Aurora. She is very, very, very nice. She's so beautiful. Let us sing it together. Aurora, Aurora, my baby, oh. Aurora, yeah. Aurora, my baby, la la la.
Well, anyway, you get the idea. That's interesting, isn't it? You hear all the, the transitions between the chorus and everything, the bass, the kick, everything sounds on the money. Sounds on point, doesn't it? It's just amazing where AI is going. And there's going to be a point where people will just go onto their AI and say, look, I feel like listening to a song like this. Can you just generate songs, And you get a full radio playlist and listen to it. It will be interesting to see what the future holds for the music industry because of these scientific developments. But anyway, that brings us to a close today on our episode of The Science Show with Dr. Dada. And again, as usual, this show is for everyone wanting to keep up with the latest breakthroughs in science. So this is the right place to be. And we'd love to hear from you, so you can share your thoughts with us online. At The Science Show is our handle on all platforms, and also we have our Jambo Radio Scotland YouTube channel. And until next week, until next time, it's Dr. Dada here signing off, and I would like to tell you to stay curious.